Welcome to Brand Day Live. This is Nick Nelson, waiting for a few more people to join. Today we have Latisha B. Russell joining us for Brand Day Live. August 14th, 2019 was the day her brand was born. Hey, Regina, I see you. Elizabeth, I see you. How you doing, sis? Just a few more minutes and we'll get started. Hey, Valerie. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, okay? Just a second and we'll get started. Good morning, Miss Abner. How are you? Sherry Darden, hello. How are you? Great to see you. Elizabeth Washington, thank you for joining. 1 second, we'll get started. Regina, we in quarantine, mama. Good afternoon, Cheryl. Corey Bryan, I see you. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It's Nick Nelson, Brandpreneur. And today we are Brandpreneur Live. Today we have Latisha Russell with us. Latisha Russell is one of our Brandpreneur clients. And August the 14th, 2019 was her brand day. If you see my post today, you can actually watch her full brand day video. But what I want to do is really give you an inside look in terms of just the people that make up Brandpreneur. These are incredible individuals. Some of you are out there. Regina, I see you out there and a few others. But these are incredible people doing incredible things. And the big thing that I want us to do is to learn from one another and learn from her experience. Latisha is an HR professional and a motivational speaker. And we have her here with us and we'll bring her up in a minute. But while we wait, I want to just give a couple of people a shout out just to make certain everyone's there. Tracy, I see you. Idris, I see you. Man, I ain't seen you in a minute, girl. Cherie, Tracy, Kathleen, Twanda, Karen, I see all of you. I thank you for joining. So what I want to do is bring up with us Miss Latisha Russell. How you doing, Latisha?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. It's good seeing you.
Thank you. You too.
So how's everything going? How's quarantine life for you?
Whew, it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment. But you know, I'm good. It's interesting because I'm really by trade. I'm an introvert. So yeah. I'm pretty good. I have an itch after a while. It's like I got to get out of this house. I got to do something.
Right.
So I've made a stop every so often to Chick-fil-A, get the kids something, go to the grocery store. It's been good otherwise.
Right. No, I get it. It's the same thing here. And we're working very hard in terms of that. Even while we're live, I got my son looking at me like, hey, Dad. Okay. I got you, son. So, but August the 14th, 2019 was the day your brand was born. And we had a chance to interface with one another. And what I want to do is just play a couple of scenes from your day, just so we can have it in the background, because I really want to begin talking through, just what that experience was like for you.
Right.
Because I found it to be very interesting. And the thing that I found to be so interesting about it was that I hadn't fully done all my research before we had met. And I intentionally like to come into these things a little cold because I want to do two things. I want to be petty and I want to judge. Okay, Let me be clear.
I understood that.
And so when we got together, one of the things that you brought to my attention was about your hair. Those of you who are watching the video play in the background, you clearly see that our hair looks a little bit different. So the question I have for you here is, talk to me about your journey from, wigs and weaves to, feeling comfortable enough to actually um, allow your full self to come?
Um,
But before we do that, hold on.
uh-huh.
We got a couple of people out here. I see you, Misha. I see you, Kathleen. Um, Taka says, "Hello, Queen Latisha." Latisha. I like that. I'm gonna start calling you Queen Latisha. Uh, Brandon, I see you. Jamal, I see you. Angela, I see you. So yeah, we have Hattie. I see you. Thank you. And Hattie says hello to my son. So
Oh, I said
talk to
hello.
me about your journey. So um, before we get there, talk to me about us and just your background.
So, full time, I'm an HR professional. I've been in HR for goodness, 17, 18 years now. Wasn't what I went to school for. Thought I wanted to do something different, but I just love people. And so I
Mhm.
just love the aspect of being in front of individuals and being in HR, human resources. It's the human aspect, right? So you
Yeah.
get to everybody, when you hear HR, they think it's, oh, you're just firing people. Not at all. I'm able to coach. I'm able to develop. I'm able to mentor from an HR side of it. I'm able to ensure that what I'm wanting and needing for me aligns with the business or the corporation that I associate myself with as well. And
Yeah.
so I love HR side, and I'm able to just still incorporate that day in and day out in my journey in my life.
Okay. So talk to me about your journey. I know you're from Gary, Indiana, and had some struggles in life, which kind of you know made you feel a way in how you needed to project yourself in real life. And I know that there are other people that are dealing with that same thing. So help me understand, what was that like?
I had a tough childhood coming up. Single parent household. My mom raised three of us. I have two older brothers. One is older by 7 years, and one is older by, I think, 5 years or so. And tough childhood for the most part. Dealt with sexual abuse at the hands of my stepfather, my mom's second husband. She was married 3 times. And then physical abuse. Unfortunately, my mom dealt with physical abuse at the hands of my grandmother,
Yeah.
as well as previous husbands. And so, as I began to grow, that was my experience, but I always kind of pushed it aside because just being raised by a mom who's 70 now, that generation, it was really, we're not going to talk about this, right? We're not
Right.
going to bring it up as if it never happened, but it did. And as I began to get older, I realized and I started remembering things, and things never really left, but I tried not to stay in that place.
No,
At
I
the
get it. I
same
get it. And one of the things that you talked to me about was just some anger issues that you had because, as with anything, these feelings, they don't go away. And
Mhm.
sometimes we act on them, right? And that impacts relationship. And the reason again why I bring all of this up is because people think that from a brand standpoint, that brands are logos, brands are just image.
Yeah,
It's a combination of psychology
it is.
and then also life experience. Because if you don't feel comfortable with yourself, you can't project an energy that's consistent. You might be one day one way one day and another way the next. So help me understand, how you felt you needed to show up in the world based off of your experiences, as opposed
You
to how
know,
you show up now.
yeah. So it's interesting because my friends saw me one way, and I'm married, so my husband saw me another way at times. And I think I had to always portray this image of I'm strong and I'm good. You ask me even now, how are you? I'm good. But sometimes that's not the real answer because I've
Right.
always had to, in coming up, people told me that I wouldn't be successful or I wouldn't amount to things. And my logo is I'm gonna show you better than I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
And that's how I come off to people now. I still struggle sometimes with letting individuals in because I always want to be able to help other people. I don't need you to know about my worries or my stress points. I'm
Right.
good.
Right.
Let me
Right.
review. And so being, I think, with the speaking as being my platform now, I've had to learn how to balance things, right? I have to learn how to open up more because people want to know the human side of me. They want to know how I too deal with things versus just, well, you tell me about your problem so that I can help you, but I don't know much about you. So that's how I've had to really show up.
Right. The thing that, you know, I teach people and I tell them is that the biggest superpower that you have, and for those of you who are out here, because anybody who follows me understands that, you know, I'm all about branding and marketing. And as an individual, the biggest superpower that you have is your story, right? That's the one thing that makes you different from anybody else. And far too often, Latisha, we are afraid to tell our story and to walk in our truth. And it's one of those things that as you do, people actually connect with you. In your video, um, I played at the end, and this is the funny thing about it. You know, I'm putting your video together, and I'm scrolling, and I look and I say, hold on, I wanted something to just kind of round out everything, and I found this video of you on YouTube where you're talking to people about your first day coming into work, not with the wig or weave, but as your full self. And I want you to talk to me about that experience. But before we do, I do want to get into the comments a little bit. Eric Winston 06 to you back, brother. Cheryl, thank you for the great conversation. Trina says you're right. Our story is our superpower. Trina is another brandpreneur, and she's an incredible person. She talks about you're more than the seat that you occupy. That's her thing. Wanda, I see you. Tia, you're right. You are not your hair. So you got some great information out here. Kathleen says good afternoon. So walk me through the experience of, okay, you finally come to realization of, I have to be my full self. First of all, before you even do that, let's talk about, before you present yourself to your coworkers, you had to present yourself to your family. The thing that was so amazing to me about your story, and that threw me off guard, like literally stopped me in our tracks on our day, was that you had never even revealed your true identity to your husband. How long had y'all been married, or have y'all been married?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Mhm. And within that 5 year span, before that week, how many times has your husband seen you without a wig or a weave on your head?
0.
That's deep. That is super deep. And why did you feel like you couldn't even do that with the person that's most important in your life?
Good question. He encouraged me to. But if I am being honest and my authentic self, is because I didn't know if, look, society puts so much on hair these days. That's all you see, you know, the women with the long hair. And I even have friends that are like, girl, my hair is thinning because I just had a baby. And I'm looking, you have a head full of beautiful hair. And so we just put so much. And I was tired and I just decided, let me do it. But I was afraid, would he still wake up the next morning and love me, if
Wow.
I'm being honest?
Wow. Wow. But I'll ask you this. When he saw your hair and your head, shall I say, for the first time, what was his reaction?
He kissed me, he hugged me, and he said, I love you and I'm here. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, and it's funny. It's funny because, you know, oftentimes, you know, we all have these things. Anybody who tells me they don't have something that they're self-conscious about is an absolute lie, right? But it's funny how we put more on ourselves many times than the world would even, right?
Yeah. You're
And
right.
it's all about getting out of your head and accepting who you are. And once you have that self-acceptance, it's almost as if you've released yourself and the shackles are off and you can now proceed forward. Let's get
You
into the comments for a little bit. Eric says, ask Latisha about my comments to her in support of your truth. Okay. In support of her truth. I hear you, Eric. All right. Wow. Thanks for this. A lupus patient. I suffer from hair loss also. And this is Lakedra. So that's tough. Let's get to that for a second. In terms of the whole hair loss thing, at what point in time in your life, what age were you when you started losing your hair?
I was 32, so 11 years ago.
Hmm. Okay. And I'm imagining at that age that has to be pretty traumatic.
It absolutely was. Started with the thinning, and I was just like, okay, it'll grow back. And it just over time, it got worse instead of better.
Yeah.
Doctor would give me creams and shampoo, and let's try this, let's try that. And after a while, it works, but then the minute you stop, it goes back to thinning.
Yes.
And so again, I was just tired of doing it. And so I just started going to the wigs and or the weaves. And after a while, again, it was hot. I was like, okay, I'll just keep dealing with this.
Right,
And then
right. Because even on the day, it's even on our day, you were, trying to make certain that the tape was down, et cetera. And
I
you
was,
know,
I was,
right, right. And I can tell that it can just be an inconvenience.
yeah,
But as much as we talk about how part of your brand is your image, I
yeah,
think we have to be very conscious in terms of, you know, are we worried too much about it? One of the
mhm,
things, looking at your Instagram feed one day, you were very transparent. And if you don't follow Latisha, please follow her at Latisha B. Russell on Instagram. But you were very authentic in terms of you showed some images of you with your eyes almost completely shut. And I was like, what happened here? I didn't know if he was in a car accident, you got in a fight. What happened?
So again, I have lupus, I have alopecia, and so I found out at 30. Like I had gone through one. Actually, I hadn't been pregnant yet, but found out after I had my first child that I was having getting my lashes done. It wasn't the strip. Ladies can relate. It wasn't the strip lashes. I'm
Mhm.
actually okay with those for a small period of time, but it was when you lay back and you do the hour and a half session and they do the actual extensions.
Yeah.
And I began to notice the swelling. And I was like, oh, something's going on. I'm gonna try it a second time. Same thing happened. I was like, okay, must be just allergies. I'm gonna try it a third time. And the same thing happened. And so I literally went home for my aunt's funeral and my eyes were completely shut at the end of the day.
Wow. Wow.
And I had to go to the emergency room. The emergency room didn't know what to do with me. They were like, are you being beaten at home? And are you safe? And I was like, I am safe. It is something else. But nevertheless, I ended up finding that I am allergic to adhesive, any type of adhesive.
Yeah.
My nails, when I would get them done, I would suffer from them, but I still got them done. Nails just came off during the quarantine period. But I felt like, man, I'm not going to stop because I felt like everything that for me in that moment defined me as a woman. My hair was gone, can't get lashes anymore, nails has adhesive in it. And so everything that I felt like I had that made me feel good, I no
Yeah.
longer had.
Wow.
And so that's what that picture really it pictured me just simply saying enough was enough. I am good. I am comfortable within my own skin. And this is me. Like it, love it, leave it.
Wow. And so moving forward, before we do that, let's get into the comments for a little bit because there's a lot of activity and I do want to be respectful of that.
Mhm.
Um, Cheryl says this is liberating and courageous dialogue, which I absolutely agree with. Crystal Kelly or Crystal Sally, excuse me, says the best life starts when we learn to love ourselves. And that is something that I wish so many people would just take to heart. You have
Yep.
to love yourself
Yep.
first before you can do anything else, right? Um, Lynn Shelton calls you a bald boss.
Love it, love it. Thank you, Lynn.
Right. And Brianna says, thank you for your story. And I do want to say thank you for being transparent and even joining us. So,
Absolutely.
okay, you are at Home Depot
Yep.
and you've taken the time, you've gotten yourself dressed. People have seen you for your entire career
Mhm.
with hair one way.
Yep.
Now you're about to walk in like a queen of Zamunda. What do you think? And what is your heart telling you? And walk me through that experience.
I was nervous as all get out. Like I was like, I can't do this. I'm in corporate, right? They see
Right.
me coming in dressed up. I just hair always laid. Like that's what they saw. And so what I did was I told my boss, I think it was like a Friday, Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I had already made my decision because I had gone on vacation and I was wearing a wig in the interim, right? I hadn't gotten my hair done because I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And that week from vacation, I wore a wig every day. As soon as I left the office, that wig was my passenger because I was like, this wig is hot, it's uncomfortable at this point.
Right.
And I told my boss when I walked out, I said, let me tell you, I'm coming in here on Monday. I will not have hair on my head. And I think he thought I was playing. So he smiled and laughed at me. I said, no, I'm serious. So I would appreciate it for those individuals that come to you with a whole bunch of questions. Is she sick? Is she okay? What's going on? No, I'm not a cancer survivor. I suffer from something called alopecia. So I would appreciate if you funnel those questions to me.
Yeah.
Versus them giving me the looks. And so came in that next Monday and he was like, oh, you serious? Wow. Thank you. And then I had a few coworkers that were near me and they were like, you are beautiful. Wow. And it made me feel some sort of way because I was like, thank you. You kind of needed that in that moment.
Sure.
And I started to walk the halls. You did have the people that would step back or I would wave and they had no idea who I was. And I was like, it's Latisha. And so I still get that to this day for individuals that might not have seen me in quite a while, but I was nervous. I shed some tears. I was. And so the hardest part was introducing the new me to people that had already seen me. The easy part was walking into restaurants or other places.
People who didn't know you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Didn't know me. I still exuded that confidence of, but I feel good. And now I forget that I don't even have hair.
Wow. And you know what? The thing about it is that when I look at you, I don't even see you that you don't have hair. I see you. And that's the thing that I think you need to understand from my perspective. I don't see the reason why I titled your video, My Brand Is Not My Hair, because brands are two things. It's what you want to be known for and how you want to make people feel. Mm-hmm. Yes, image is important, but image changes, right? By the time we get out of quarantine, my belly might be a little bit bigger. Okay. I'm just keeping it real.
Don't do it. The need for you
but my brand is not my belly. Okay. So it is as much as because this is what I often hear. Nick, I'm not ready yet to come see you because I got about 10 or 15 pounds I'm trying to lose. Yeah. That's fine. You know what? I want you to feel comfortable and you need to feel comfortable with who you are. But it should not prevent you from doing what you need to do. Like we talk about black hair, especially with women. The thing that I hear often here is that Nick, I don't want to sweat my hair out. That's the reason why I don't go to the gym. Really? You don't want to sweat your hair out, huh? Let me tell you something. You're about to have a heart attack, but your hair gonna be laid. You know, I mean, it's stuff like that, right? So it is very important that we don't allow our vanity to impede our progress. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Let's get back into the comments real quick. Asandi is another brandpreneur. She says, you are gorgeous and your energy is fire. I love it.
Thank you.
Angela Williams, she says that part. Like it, love it, and leave it. All right. Dr. Dina says, if you can be your full self and you cannot grow and live up to your potential 100%. Absolutely. So even through the comments, you're just getting a lot of love because, you know, the thing that I really commend you on is just the bravery in all of it. Because you've had a lot to overcome and you didn't let you get in the way of you. Right. I know you do have a book and I definitely want you to talk about that. It's called The Naked Truth. Help me understand about that book, where people can find it, etc.
Yes, I had to be ready. But
Hmm.
the book is here, and it's the naked truth from pain to triumph, and it's really a memoir of my life, right? And it starts at a young age, and uh, let's talk about the cover, because see, Nick, what I love about Nick is he keeps it real, and when he saw the cover he was like, I don't like it, and I was okay with that. But in that moment, he and I went back, and I have to admit, I was like, okay, I got to try to please Nick, I got to try to please others. At some point I was like, forget it. I'm doing this for me and nobody else. So I think I remember calling Nick and I was like, Nick, you're not gonna like it, or here's the cover. I can't remember what what the
I
conversation was,
remember.
but I have gloves on. And for me, the gloves signify boxing. I have boxed my entire life. And at the end of the day, I consider myself, I've won, right? I wasn't broken. And so that's why that cover was so very important to me. And it's a memoir of it's a 12 rounds. I love boxing. And
Mhm.
so it talks about just my journey of dealing with child sexual abuse, dealing with physical abuse, dealing with emotional abuse, thinking about suicide at one point in my life, unfortunately, and kind of where I am now. And guess what? I'm still standing.
You still
And
stand.
so you can find my book on either my website of www.latishaBrussell.com/shop, or you can grab it off of Barnes and Nobles or Amazon. And again, my IG is Latisha B. Russell, and I also have information regarding my book as well. I
Well,
try to not do a ton. You won't see a lot of activity related to this around this LinkedIn page, just because I try and make sure that I have that delineation of what's business,
sure,
HR
sure.
versus my.
Um, Before I let you go, talk to us about, because you are in HR. We're in an unusual scenario right now in the world, where you have quite a few people that are at risk if they have not had unemployment changes, have the potential to. From an HR standpoint, we're talking about being your full self.
Yeah.
Um, what are the advantages in terms of bringing your full self to your job?
The advantages are, it's tough the minute you put on a facade, or the minute you are trying to be someone else for
Mhm.
for someone else, something else for someone else.
Yeah.
That is the expectation that you have set. And so while we are in
Right.
this down period of quarantine time, this is the time for you to do some soul searching, right? It's the best and greatest opportunity for you to figure out, what do you want from a career perspective. And if what you've been providing is not truly what you want, this is the time to start engaging other people, to start networking with other people. Carve out some time throughout the days and the weeks to figure out, how do I now try and navigate what's going on, and how do I try and network? And what I always say, sometimes it's discouraging when you reach out to people either via LinkedIn, either via Instagram, whatever the case is, and they don't respond. Don't let that discourage you or
Correct.
stop you in your tracks.
Hmm.
Use that to fuel you to continue moving forward, right? That one no or three or four no's, it's okay.
Right.
You can figure out, now, how do I refocus myself, reposition myself, so that I can continue to reach out to people. But do not allow that to stop you or discourage you from getting where you ultimately would like to be.
Man, I'm so glad you said that, because, I tell people that you are just one relationship away. You're one post away.
Yeah,
You're one away from a life altering thing. Never stop putting yourself out there. If
absolutely.
you're not putting yourself out there, get the courage as you can, in your own at your own pace.
Yeah, absolutely.
In doing that, one of my mentors, he tells me, Nick, it's a numbers game. Like, literally, it literally is a numbers game. You have to continue to build conversations, have conversations. It's not always going to be a yes, right? You're
Yeah,
going to hear many no's, but
absolutely.
all it takes is one yes to change your whole situation. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. And I think, Nick, even through this process, what I am learning is I am meticulous and I like things in order. And before I do things, it has to be in this order before I can actually do or release something. I
Yeah.
am slowly learning, it's okay if it's not. Put it
Right.
out there. right? Or talk to your friends and pose what you are thinking
Yes.
with your group of friends or that individual that you trust and say, this is what I'm thinking. Get their feedback and just go for it. It's not always going to be perfection when you release it, but just do it.
On that, Latisha, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, for joining
Absolutely.
us. By all means, please, again, her website, LatishaBRussell.com. The name of her book is called The Naked Truth. You can see her brand day in my feed. It's our brand speech, our featured video and spotlight for today. I encourage you to take a look at it. I promise you it'll bless your life and it'll bless your heart. So let's get a few more comments before we get out of here, Latisha, okay? All right. Lakedri said, this was very empowering. Cheryl said, I needed this. Quiana said, this is exactly what I have been doing. Unemployed now unexpectedly and working on my business. Quiana, continue to have those, continue to network, continue to build those relationships. And I tell everyone, never stop selling. I
Absolutely.
know it's COVID-19. Keep selling,
Yeah.
right? I know people are losing their jobs. Keep selling,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
You keep selling, and it's not necessarily a widget or a product. You sell yourself every single day by how you show up.
You do. You do.
All right.
Yeah, let me say one more thing, Nick, if you
Please.
don't.
Mhm.
Being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone, right? And so, well, I get that. And so, unfortunately, a lot of people are faced with unemployment or furloughs during this period. I can't stress enough to always have an updated resume, right? And
Yes.
for those that don't, just make sure again you're utilizing this time to update and fine tune things. And again, if you're trying to figure out how, look at various job descriptions that might be out there with various companies along the lines of what you do. And don't be afraid to take some of those bullets from that job description, place them onto your resume, but make sure you actually do those duties and that you can speak to them if you need to.
That's an excellent point, Latisha. And to that extent, two opportunities to learn this week with Brandpreneur. The first is Brand Aid. We got you covered. Where we'll have Morgan Wider on a live webinar. It's not going to be on LinkedIn, but it will be through a live webinar. To learn more about that, by all means, you can check out the link in the post today in the comments. You'll see it, or you feel free to direct message me and I'll send it right over to you. And then on Friday, we have Wait a Brand Minute, where I'm going to be talking to you about LinkedIn and what you need to do to organically be seen by recruiters online, right? Oftentimes, the similar to like with websites, if you don't have search engine optimization going, people are not going to be able to find you. The same thing with your LinkedIn profile. If it's not optimized, people will not find you. So I'm going to give you a few things to take into consideration so you can optimize your profile so the right people see you.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, Latisha, I'm a music guy. So can you just do me a favor? Bob your head with me one time as we head out.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate you, y'all.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
rest of your day.